It's Lisa from I Dream in Soap. Welcome to my channel. Now today I'm going to do another continent soap. So far in my continent series I've done Australia, Africa and Europe. So today we're moving on to North America. Now with my other continent soaps I've tried to not necessarily go for something that would be the really obvious thing to choose. However, with North America, I have kind of switched that up and chosen what I think is probably one of the most obvious things to do. And obviously we'll have a look at how we do that as we go through. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to start off extruding some shapes. Now, first of all, I'm going to be making an eagle because I'm going to do a bald eagle inside the American flag. And it's a fairly well-known image that we've seen. I've not actually seen anyone do it in soap. I've seen lots of attempts at the American flag, and I have seen where people have done like a stencil or something on top of the soap, but not anything going all the way through the soap. Okay, so we're going to have a go at that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude an eye for my bald eagle. So I've just got an extruder disc for the eye, and the standard disc from a normal extruder set, just a small circle to actually extrude these eye pieces out. I've got a couple of pieces of soap dough. So my yellow soap dough is made with Sunshine Yellow from Micah Mama, and my brown soap dough for the pupil is going to be Chestnut Brown from You Make It Up. So let's just get those extruded. I've got my sort of rounded bit for the eye in first. I think I've got more than enough there. And then what I'm going to do is just take the pupil of the eye and pop it inside the yellow bit. Okay, so these are tiny weeny little eyes. So I've made some embed moulds for my eagles, and as you can see I'm going to be making 2 of them. Now first thing I'm going to do is pour the beak. So I've made up a small amount of yellow soap. This again has got that sunshine yellow in it. And I've also put some fragrance in it, and the fragrance I'm using for all of this soap is Black Pomegranate, and I've got mine from Craftovator in the UK. Now at the moment this is probably a little bit too runny, so I'm just going to wait a little while before I pour that in so that it doesn't just run out of where I want it to be. Okay, so I think I'm about there. Now my battery's still pretty fluid, but it's not like water. But I do want it to be still very runny and very flowing because I need to get it into a space in this mould where it's quite tight, and I definitely don't want any lumps and bumps and any holes. So in my mould, as you can see the shape of my eagle on the outside, I'm not sure if you can see that, there we go. I need to fill in this beak. So that's going into this part of the mould here. So I'm just going to pour my soap in. Now you may not be able to see me getting it into the right space, but okay, and I want to make sure that it's definitely got all the way in there, and I'm just going to pop that and leave it up on its side because I obviously don't want that yellow soap to then flow back and be on top of the eagle's head. So again with the other one. Okay, and then when I'm happy that I've got that pointy bit of the beak full, I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more because I want to scrape the shape of this beak out. Okay, so I need to have it a little bit proud so that I can actually scrape it and get the shape that I want. Okay, so we've got everything reasonably set up. Now I still want it to be pretty fluid. I don't want it to be really, really stiff. And the reason for that is I've got a little scraper here that is going to scrape out the beak. So I'm after getting right in, can you see, into that little divot there. And if your soap's really thick, it's not going to flow into that little divot. So this little scraper fits exactly nice and tightly into this mould. Now again, just to preserve, because I want this little bit to be sticking up, I'm gonna, so you may not be able to see me scraping this very well, but you've seen me scraping loads of stuff before, haven't you? I'm just gonna take my mould, and again, I'm just gonna pop it onto its side, and I'm going to do the scraping on the side. Okay, so I'm really happy with that now, and I'm going to leave it on its side so that that bit that's sticking up will stay sticking up until it's set up a bit. Okay, so I did forget to press play. All I've done is just popped in a little bit of white soap batter into the mould there and let it set a little bit. And now I've just got my eye. And now remember, we want that eye, make sure we're putting it in the correct way up. Now what I've got in this mould is I've made sure that as I made the mould, I put in markers on the inside that mark the eye position. So hopefully we can get it all lined up. Okay, so I'm hoping that's nicely in line, and then I can just put the rest of my white in. Mine's a little bit thicker now because I let that white at the bottom set up, but it still should be absolutely fine. It's still sort of flowing quite nicely. Okay, I'm just going to give that a bang down. Okay, and then we'll leave that and wait for it to be ready to scrape. Okay, so this is set up nicely. I didn't have to wait particularly long because it was quite stiff anyway. So I'm just going to scrape out those feathers now. Okay, so I've scraped out both of those and I've got my little scrapings here. Now, what I'm going to do with this is for the rest of my soap, I do need to extrude some white stars. Now, this has obviously already got some fragrance oil in it. So rather than using some white soap dough that I've already got, I'm going to seal this up, wrap it up nice and tightly, and then that can turn into soap dough and I'll be able to use that for my white stars rather than just some without the fragrance oil in. Okay, so let's get these finished off, shall we? So I've made up some more soap and it's coming up to a nice trace. It's got my fragrance oil in there and as you can see that chestnut brown mica. Now what I want to do, rather than just have a solid brown for the feathers, is I'm just going to pour a little tiny bit off, not very much. And I've got a little bit of measured titanium dioxide in here, just so I can get a lighter shade of brown as well. Just so I haven't just got one solid colour of the brown. So hopefully this will give us like a little bit of movement almost. I mean, it's not going to look exactly like feathers, is it? But hopefully it just will break up that solid block of brown. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of lightly mix that in. And then let's get these poured in. I finished levelling off and just making the surfaces all nice and smooth and just tidied up around the moulds. So now I'm just going to pop them, just like with all of my soaps, so into a nice low oven that's just been warmed up. Turn the oven off and then just leave these overnight so that I can unmould them and use them tomorrow. I've got my eagle all unmoulded and I just wanted to have a little chat about a couple of issues arising with the design. So one of the things I've got is, this is my design that I've planned, and can you see I'm going to have some spaces where the eagle white areas cross the white areas on the stripes and the flag, and I don't want to sort of lose the definition of the eagle, so I'm going to put a very thin line around the eagle so I get this sort of more effect. I don't know if you can see the slight difference between those, so that the eagle stands out a little bit. Okay, so let's go and do this outline on the eagle then. And all I've done is I've mixed up a small amount of soap, and it's a reasonably thick trace. And this is the same colour of soap as I used for the feathers, the brown feathers. Now, other ways you could do this, you might often see people rolling embeds in mica. That would probably work as well. Okay, but I'm just going to do this just to paint on a little bit of the soap. I'm not trying to make a huge layer, I just literally want to have a tiny line, you know, just a difference in colour, just where the eagle crosses the white stripes of the flag, just so you can see a difference. Okay, so I'm not actually looking to, you know, do a border or anything around it. Okay, so I'm just going to muck around putting this on. Okay, so I'll leave that to set up a little bit, and then I'll just go again and just get rid of any of those lumps and bumps. So then what I've done is just taken my eagle and just gently popped it into my soap mould, just in case I sort of damaged that brown line, but it seemed to be okay as I plopped it in. And I'm just going to finally just get that a bit more evened out, and then just leave that to set up, just so it won't get too disturbed. It doesn't need to be completely dry. Yeah, I think that will do. I obviously want each of the stripes in my flags to be the same shade of red and white, so therefore I've worked out how much oil I need for my red stripes, and I've added my red mica. Now I'm using terracotta red from Mica Mama. It's not the best red in the world. It's all right. It's the closest red that I've got that I can use. Now I know maybe several of you will leave comments in the comment section below and say use Trial by Fire and things like that. I know Trial by Fire is a brilliant red. I do actually own Trial by Fire. Unfortunately, Trial by Fire will not get approval for cosmetic use in the UK, so therefore it's illegal for us to use it in any soaps that we want to sell, so I can't use it. So that's my next best alternative, is terracotta red. Okay, so I'm just going to get that blended in with my oils. This is just oils in here, and then I'm going to use these oils. Sorry, I thought it was better that I stopped talking when I was blending. Yep, to get that all blended up, and then I'll use these oils each time I make a red stripe. Okay, so I've mixed up a little bit of soap for this first layer. And I'm just going to pour it in.
Tick-tock, the clock keeps ticking. I don't know what I should do, and I wish you would be right here with me. My mind is filled with pictures of when we used to dance, but now I don't know where you are. I missed you so bad, won't you come back to me? I've got you in my head, you're all that I see. I've lost all my chances, I know that I am too late. I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, wondering if you're thinking about me too. Now it's too late.
So the next thing we're going to do is the blue area with the stars. Now I need to divide this up, so I've done a very high-tech divider. Let's go and grab it. Okay, so I'm going to drop this in. I've made it quite nice and tight, exactly level with the star area. I'm resting on the eagle's head. And then I've done a little, I don't know, a thing with a little sticky out cut on it. And I'm just going to pop that over there, just so the weight of the soap, if it starts to push and bow, it won't bow in the middle. That's my plan anyway. I'm hoping that's going to be secure enough to hold that soap. If not, I'll have to be doing some shoring up or something in another way. Okay, so I've got my oils and my lye and my blue mica colorant in this little jug. Let's just give that a mix. I'm just going to really do it lightly, as I say, because I'm having sort of acceleration today, where I don't normally with this fragrance oil, just because of the heat. So just very gentle. Okay, that's going to do me. Now, this getting a little bit thicker today isn't going to be, hopefully, too much of a problem, because it'll help me with my star embeds. But I still need that combination of it flowing enough so I don't get any gaps around the stars. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my fragrance oil a little bit at a time, and I'm happy to do it with this fragrance oil because it's a fragrance oil that has quite a decent IFRA limit. It's something like 73% or something. So if there ends up with a tiny weeny bit of fragrance oil more in one bit of the soap than the other, I'm not bothered. It's not going to have any skin safe problems or anything to worry about. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is just prop my loaf up a little bit like that, because I've got to get down and under that beak and hopefully not get any air pockets. So I'm just going to pour a tiny little bit off, add a little fraction of fragrance oil and get that bit done and get that area hopefully filled in successfully. And then once that's had a chance to set a little bit, then I can tilt that back and start doing the rest of the flag. So that's my plan for getting in under that beak area. Okay, so I've got the very lightest of trace. I am actually going to drop this for the moment, just to make it easier to pour initially. Then I'm going to sort of smush it up and down because I want to get right in under that beak without any air pockets. Now I'm hoping that's going to be okay. It's got a bit of thickness to it now. So I'm hoping that that's going to be fine for not coming out from under the beak. I've extruded myself some stars. I didn't worry about doing those on camera because you've seen me do lots of extrusions before. I'm just going to drop those in now. And I'm going to try very hard, I'm not entirely sure how successful I'll be, to get all the stars all the right way up, all the right spacing, and not disturb them when I put in each row of batter. So that is my hope for this.
Keeps on bleeding. I have scars, the ones that healing. They're all there because of you. It's my fault, I messed it up and I should have treated you much better. So much better. I miss you so bad, won't you come back to me? I've got you in my head, you're all that I see. I've lost all my chances, I know that I am too late. I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, wondering if you're thinking about me too. Now it's too late, I know it's too late. I'm out of time, but I'm still thinking of you. Tick tock, the clock keeps ticking. Don't know what I should do. I wish you would be right here with me. I'm thinking of you, thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, wondering if you're thinking about me too. Now it's too late, now it's too late. I'm out of time, but I'm still thinking of you.
Okay, so here we are back again, and I'm about to take this divider out. I think I'm set up enough. We'll find out in a minute, and I'm sure you wanted to watch this rather than me just going, da, got it out. So I've taken dividers out of wet soap before when they're proper acrylic dividers. I've not done them with this Correx stuff yet, so let's see. Ta-da! Perfecto! Look at that! Super duper! Okay. Right. Pew! That was the nervy bits, and now, hopefully, I know I don't wonky old this mould is, so I hope my lines aren't all wonky because I've had tipped up and tipped down. But we'll see, won't we? Right, white, then red, and then we're done. Okay, so I'm happy I'm at the very, very lightest trace. Remember, the reason I'm keeping it such a light trace is I need my layers in my flag to be straight. Okay then, so we're there with our very lightest of trace. So I'm just going to pour this up to finish off. That white looks quite set up. Not too worried that I've blobbed a bit over on the blue, because I'm going to take some of this red over on the blue just to finish off. Okay, so rather abstract on the top there, and a little bit of texture, but that's us done now. So I'm going to cover it and put it in the oven overnight, ready to cut tomorrow. So here we are the next day, and I have absolutely no idea why there's no audio on this video, but I guess if something's not going to record when you're cutting a bar of soap, it's better to lose the audio than the video. So here we are, let's have a look, see what we've got. Okay, so here we go. And there's our first bar of soap. I must admit, I always struggle a little bit doing voiceovers for cutting videos because I've already seen the soap and it's been sitting on my mantelpiece curing before it goes on the curing rack for a week or so. But I think I'm just saying there that I'm really pleased that I managed to get the blue of the blue area of the flag underneath the beak without any gaps. And there, I guess I'm talking about the little outline. Do you remember I did that little outline on the eagle? And tiny thin outline. And I really like that actually. I like the fact that it does make the eagle stand out away from the white stripes in the soap. Here's another one. That's me talking about the brown. If you remember with the brown, I mixed two slightly different shades of brown together. So that has given it a little bit more of a mottled effect on that brown area of the feathers. But overall, I am really pleased with those. My stars have all stayed in place and stood up nicely, so I'm really pleased. And also the colours. The red, perhaps not completely the perfect red, but I still think it is a really good red. So I'm pleased with the soap and the colours on them. So I'll just leave you with some final pictures of the soap, and also to say that on Saturday the 7th of August is the I Dream in Soap shop update. Now this soap won't be available for this release, it will be available in the next release, but I do have lots of soaps coming up that you will have seen on YouTube, things like my apple sage tree, my wonky cottage, and all of those sort of things. So why not pop over to the website on Saturday, 6 PM UK time, and see if there's anything you fancy. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like this soap. I am really pleased with it, so I hope you like it too. If you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, then why not subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell so you can see whenever I'm posting some new videos. If you've got any questions or comments, then please leave them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!